p.m. Therefore, keep it on Church of Uganda Family TV. That is if you did not go to Kabale. But this conversion will be on up to Sunday. Therefore, you can't afford to miss. If you did go today, you can go tomorrow. You can join on Friday or Saturday or maybe Sunday on the closing ceremony. But at least you should be part of this event. And in case you fail to be a part of any of the days live in Kabale, watch Church of Uganda Family TV, because we shall be broadcasting all the events live here on TV and on our various social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and other platforms. But of course, the All Clergy conference is also on at the Uganda Christian University, which will be ending tomorrow, Thursday. So that is also another very big event. However, there's still a lot that is happening. Now, today we are looking at something very, very sensitive and something very, very pertinent. Of course, we are looking at the International Justice Mission Violence Against Women and Children Baseline Report 2025. And of course, with us, a delegation from the International Justice Mission Uganda. Of course, next to me is Miss Ayebale Lilian, who is the Senior Manager, Monitoring and Evaluation, Research and Learning at the International Justice Mission Uganda. It's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you, and good morning, listeners. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for joining us today. We are delighted to share in this report.
We are also delighted to have you here with us. And of course, at the extreme left is Mr. Mwanje Byron, who is the Senior Manager, Justice Systems at the International Justice Mission. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you, Edwin, for having us. Thank you to Family TV for this time, and for IRCU for this connection.
Yeah, we are really delighted. But of course, before we get into this report, someone would really want to understand what International Justice Mission Uganda is, what they do, and why it exists. Mr. Mwanje, can you take us through that, please?
Thank you. So, International Justice Mission is a global organization which works to protect people living in poverty from violence. We exist in 19 countries, but having 33 programs globally. So we exist our headquarters are in the US, but we have offices in North America, in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, in Europe, and in Africa. In Africa we have Uganda, Kenya, and Ghana. And we focus on 3 types of abuses globally. Wherever agent exists, it is either modern slavery, or what you call human trafficking, then police abuse of power, and then violence against women and children, which is what we focus on in Uganda. And in Uganda, we will partner with the institutions of government which are mandated to protect people, to fight and combat intimate partner violence, which is domestic violence for women, and then sexual violence against children. Our mission is fourfold as the International Justice Mission. 4 things. 1, strengthening justice systems. Wherever we exist, we want to ensure that justice systems are functional. Police is active, the courts are available, there are referral pathways to report cases. The system is sufficient to support the poor, so it can support everyone. So strengthening justice systems is one of our fourfold purposes. The second is rescuing and restoration of victims. So for Uganda, we want to ensure that when we know a case of a woman who has suffered domestic violence, or a child who has been sexually abused, they can be rescued from a place of danger to a safer place, maybe a shelter, maybe a foster family, and so on. Then thirdly is bringing criminals to justice. We believe that while we protect and secure those who have been injured, it is also good to have a message of deterrence in the community. So the third aspect is bringing criminals to justice. So we work with police, we work with the DPP to ensure that those who have committed these heinous crimes are brought to justice, so that it can act as a deterrent to other people in the community. And then fourth is scaling a demand for protection. We work to build champions from the church, from the community, from the political arena, from everywhere, to ensure that there are people who rally to say it is not right for a child to be sexually abused. It is wrong for a husband to beat his wife. It is wrong for domestic violence to exist. So That is why IGM exists, and that is our mission.
Okay, that is quite very interesting. That is very, very interesting. Mr. Ebale, someone would want to say that because with the civil society organizations, we always see reports like the report we are about to talk about and discuss, but the question is what happens after the reports? So are there any success stories so far out of your advocacy that you can share with us here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Edwin. Of course, we've had work that has been ongoing even before the report of stories of women and children that have experienced violence. And the basic that we do, like he has explained, our four areas that we intervene in. So even when you get to the case, you handle it in that structure. So you want to make sure this person is rescued and kept in a safer place. Then they get the justice they deserve. They are protected through the justice system, and they are taken through the justice system. Then we also listen to the voices of the survivors, all the people that have experienced violence. What would they need? What would they see as justice to them? So when we've had women, we've had a number of cases of women that have come to us for rescue and for seeking the justice journey, then psychosocial support for them to get back to their feet and go on with their lives, and also restoration, what we call, even after they have gone through the psychosocial support, you're now restored and you're able to function back normally and look after, take on your life, or even your children or your life. Even for children that have been sexually abused, we have been able to take them through the justice system to seek the justice journey. All these provisions are by law, so we follow within the law of the land to help the survivors pursue the justice that is to them, that is available to them by law through the justice actors that are available. If the the case has been reported to police, we do have staff that will work alongside the police to do the investigations, to get the child out of danger. They are safe. They get their statements taken safely. You know, most of the children, they are scared with the police. They take them to police. They even fear to talk. So someone is available, a psychosocial support person, to prepare this child not to fear to give recall and give their statements rightly, and then with the prosecutors, all the rest of the processes they go through, so they are prepared. So our cases, I may not mention 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are quite a number that we have taken through the justice journey and have gone on to successfully be restored to get back to society and move on with their lives, both children and women. Okay.
Yes. This is very good. Mr. Mwanje, talking about these interventions that IGM is working on, do you believe that there will be a time where we have a violent-free Uganda?
Yes, I do believe. I know that it is a heavy task, but I know that it is possible if our interventions are dealt with collaboratively. One thing to realize is that this kind of abuse is not one that is solved by one institution or one solution. So you need the collaboration of everybody. You need government to have the political will. You need civil society to be active. You need the community to be demanding for change. We do not want to see a community which is silent when they know their neighbor always hears their neighbors fighting, but just looks on the other side. So vibrant.
I don't poke my nose into other people's business.
Or if you want to do right, outside the bedroom. So a vibrant community, a community that is made aware or knowledgeable of their rights, a church that speaks against violence right at the pulpit. If we have all these actors focusing on this, it is possible to bring it to an end.
Okay. We are looking at, especially these days, when, for example, NRM held their primaries, and we are yet to see more in the coming elections, where because of the difference in the candidates you support, that becomes a source of domestic violence. So, Mr. Ebale, how are you prepared to handle this and to address this, because it is coming, whether we like it or not, because we've seen it happen in primaries.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And just building on from what my colleague has said, this is a collective effort. Okay. The power is in everyone's hands. Every one of us has power to end violence against women and children. And even within the political situation, me and you have power. Everyone out there has power to control this injustice. So even when we know, how are we prepared? That was the question. Yeah. This is part of the preparation. People getting to know that this is actually an injustice. It is not normal for the next neighbor to suffer violence, and I sit back and I don't do anything about it. There must be action. So we want to hold each and every human being accountable to the next human being. It is Christian, it is a Christian value to hold ourselves accountable and in love. So it is us to look out for these injustices that are happening to women, children, whichever is happening around us, and not to leave it as a domestic issue, but to let the perpetrators, the people who are bringing that injustice, be held accountable. So throughout the political season, we are vigilant to look out for injustices that are happening for women and children, and to hold perpetrators accountable for what they have done to the women and to the children within households. So I call upon the stakeholders out there to join this, to take it as their own responsibility to protect the people they live with, protect the people around them in the communities, the community leaders, the church leaders, the cultural leaders, all the institutions. Everyone needs harmony. Even the people, the politicians, when they go through, they will need the woman, they will need the population that they have been antagonizing. So it is best that the community lives at peace for them to offer us the service that they want to actually go out and offer. Yeah, so the message should be, each one of us is responsible for harmony, for justice, for protection of the neighbor and the child and the woman. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Of course, this was giving a preamble of our discussion. Today we want to discuss the report that you released a few days ago. And that is what we want to get into, and we want to see how we can use this report to offer solutions to the upcoming problems. Mr. Mwanje, if we can get, if you can take us through the background of this report, I mean, what prompted you to get into the findings and all those details? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I came to Uganda as existed since 2004. And initially we started out by following our vision, just helping out on any case where someone was in need of support. Then in 2012 to 2018, we had a program in Mukono County, in 9 sub-counties, which was dealing with property grabbing. This is seizing of property from widows and orphans. And at the end of that program, or that project, we saw a reduction of about 50% in Mukono County. So in 2018, we now broadened our work of protection from the start. When you are dealing with widows, you are dealing with people at their tail end of life. Yeah. They've had a relationship, the husband has passed on, and now they are at the age. Now we are dealing with it right from the beginning. A girl, a boy, a woman. And so this program design was completed around 2021. And because we are proceeding towards an ambitious vision of 2030, our ambitious vision for globally is that we want to rescue millions, protect 500 million, 500 million people, and prove that make justice for the poor unstoppable. We want to get to a time whereby you don't need to do much. Someone knows that if I am abused, there is justice for me. So for Uganda, we decided to have a baseline to give us findings to understand what is the situation on ground. How prevalent is the abuse? When I walk out of here, in 10 people, how many could be sexually abused? How many women could be suffering intimate partner violence? And then, how many people trust the justice system? How many can rely on it? Will someone quickly go to the police, or they will think twice? Will they trust the police? Will they trust their pastor? Will they trust their friend? Instead of going to the police, which is mandated to actually begin investigations. What is the confidence of the justice actors? Do we see the police trusting that when they investigate their cases, they will end up in a successful outcome in court? Does the DPP trust the work that the police does? We wanted also to see that what is the level of confidence of different actors, but then also to know how is the justice system performing. What does it take for one to report a case today and receive justice at the end of the day? What is it? So we wanted to do that so that as we run towards 2030, 2031, we clearly know what are the numbers telling us, the interventions we are choosing to do right, and what can we do to lead to a reduction. So that is the background to this research.
Okay. Thank you so much. With that background, someone would say, was the report released prematurely? Because the vision is 2030 and the report comes out in 2025.
Lillian will add to this, but technically when we are doing measurement, it is good to have the statistics on ground as you start.
Okay.
And then along the way have a kind of midline. How far have we moved? Are the interventions addressing the needs that we realized at the findings? And then in the end we do an end line. So it is expected for programs that are going to be proven to work.
Okay.
You will not just look and say, we have done it. You must have the basis for which you are doing what you are doing. So that's why we had to do this baseline and release it. And it is not an IJM baseline. We had an independent contractor called International Research Consortium, which is a public, and it's now in the public. The purpose is that we all work together. So some of the findings that came out that were interesting is that there's a low level of crime reporting. 7 out of 10 incidences of the crime are not reported. In other words, most people do not report. In terms of percentage, only 28% of cases are reported, but actually of those which are reported, only 12% go to the police and end up probably in court. 16% will go to a cultural leader, a clan head, and so on. In other words, when a woman is abused today, it will take so much for her to end up reporting a case. So there's a low level of reporting.
Okay.
The other thing that came out also was that...
maybe before we leave that particular finding, I would like Lillian to add on that. As a woman, why do you think this is like this? Why do you think there is that low level of reporting?
Yeah, so in this study we did ask why people don't report, why you have experienced violence, you have been violated, child or adult, but you wouldn't report. So some of the reasons that the respondents gave were fear of stigma. So fear of stigma and then fear of not being accepted by society, isolation by other people who have seen you reporting. Just like at the beginning, as we said, there are other connotations to domestic violence, like things that are happening in the house are domesticated and felt like these are Byomunju, these are Tebitotora. So like this is, you shouldn't talk about this. So that is already a barrier. Community will laugh at me. Then I'll be stigmatized by how will my Senga hear that I even reported this? How will my community, my household hear that my child has been sexually abused? What if this child, how will they grow up after this has been known? So there's a lot of stigma associated to reporting sexual abuse for children and also domestic violence by women. So at the end of it all, that is why you see there's a big gap, a big reporting gap of 72%, which is a very big percentage. You only see about 16% that will go to cultural leaders, will go to local leaders, the LC, and report their cases. And just 12%, which is also a very, very small fraction, that will decide to boldly go to police. So that gap is within our community settings, that these barriers will always be there, and these are the barriers that me and you will need to discuss, and the community out there that we have opened up to, that we need to talk about these barriers that let people, that make people keep quiet even when they are experiencing abuse, and remove the barriers so that people are able to get justice. If we keep the barriers, people will not access justice. We need to work on these barriers as community. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is so interesting, but I mean that is the reality in community. I think partly it is because of culture. People have this culture background whereby even when a man beats you, keep quiet. And of course, there is also another notion that when a man beats you, then they love you more. Anyway, Mr. Mwanje, we are taking us through another finding. That is one of the findings, yes.
Thank you, and I like the way you are taking it, because we actually had 4 domains. So that one was relating to actually the reliance, how people trust the system. So what we are learning is that many people don't report, which means that there is a lot of work to do to ensure that we bring the confidence. We raise awareness to the people that actually you have a police structure. There is a police post, there is a police station. Some people go to a police post and maybe there is some frustration and then they end up there. But there is a structure. What's the role of the DPP? People need to understand this. Women need to know about their rights. That having made a vow in marriage doesn't mean that you stand all manner of abuse. Because we might lose you in the name of keeping the marriage. So one day it will be a slap. The next day it will be pouring hot porridge on you. The next time we shall have a burial ceremony. So we don't want to propagate that. We want to say, speak up. Then when we come to prevalence, this was quite interesting, because we realized that 58% of children have suffered sexual violence.
58%.
And for girls it is actually 3 times more than boys. 77% for girls, 24% for girls.
For boys.
For boys. That is for sexual violence. And then for women, even partner violence, almost the same. 55% of women said that through their lifetime, they have suffered domestic violence. So someone could be well now, but through their life, they can tell incidents of a rape somewhere, an abuse by relative. So it looked like the state as it is, women through their lifetime are vulnerable. 6 out of 10 are likely to be abused either physically or sexually. And then for children, the same, worse more for the girls.
Wow. And this is an alarming number.
It is.
So Lillian, what does this speak? Because it is so alarming. I mean, having this number, it is so alarming. What does this speak, especially for the Uganda we want? And now that we are in 2025 and the vision is 2030.
Yeah. Just like we said in the previous discussion, what does this say about our communities and our societies? Is that we have normalized this. Because many women are experiencing this, and by the way, because we have even connotations of you never talk about this, I don't want to rule out that even some of the women respondents never even said they experienced it. So you may find it's even higher than the percentage that we captured. You may find even it's higher among even the children than what we captured in the study, for those that were able to boldly talk about their experiences. It's because we still hold our cultural connotations of this I can't talk about. I cannot say this, I experienced it. So you also put in that factor underlying. So what does that mean? It means we have normalized it. What does that call for? We are calling for action. This report calls for action if we are moving to the Uganda we want, if we are moving to development, if we are moving to progression, if it's a child that has experienced violence in childhood. 6 out of 10 children are experiencing this. This is a very big number. And it is, you are having also 24% who are boys also experiencing this violence. By the time they grow into adults, they do not know what growing up peacefully means. They are going into a cycle of violence from childhood to adulthood. Is that the Uganda we want? How will that person contribute to the development of the society when they are actually undergoing abuse from childhood to adulthood? All they know is being abused, or they have seen people being abused and it has been normalized. So me and you have grown up in these communities, and we are aware that these things are happening, and we have contributed to the problem. And how? Listeners too should think about this. We have contributed to the problem, and if we say that this problem should end, like we have said, by 2030 we should see a change in domestic violence. We should see a change. These numbers dropping. We don't want to see that every 6 in 10 are experiencing violence. How do we transform this? We have called upon individuals like me and you, but we want to call upon the institutions that hold power. We have power, someone else has power, but we also have institutions that hold power to this. In the beginning, he talked about our cultural norms and what we perceive. I'm a woman, I'll perceive when my husband beats me, he loves me. I'll perceive that I've been told that what happens to me, I don't say it. But how do we, because...
It'll be an embarrassment to my aunt if I ever say it.
If I ever say this. So how do we now deal with such issues that prohibit us or fuel the violence? We are calling upon stakeholders to a table of discussion and looking out for what makes us move into the Uganda we want. Is the Uganda we want the violence, is the Uganda we want the one with violence? Or is the family we want tomorrow the one with violence? Have you, I don't know whether you've experienced the violence, like had a household that has had violence recurrent, where there is no harmony at all. Is that the family? You know, Uganda starts from that unit, the smallest unit of who we are today. Me and you are coming from a family today, this morning. But if you're coming from that abusive family, how much will you contribute to the development of the country? So we are saying cultural institutions, cultural leaders. There is what we have held, but can we talk about what we have held that is causing underdevelopment, that is leading us to stay stagnant at a given point, yet we would be more productive. You want your child to be more productive, but they will not be productive if they are not protected. You want a woman to contribute to the productivity of development and others, but you're not letting her. So how do we engage cultural institutions to a table where we talk about the development of our cultural institutions themselves by empowering children, protecting women, and letting them live a violent-free communities? What is the benefit of having a household that is happy? What is the benefit of having a community that has less violence, especially the domestic violence related? So in our programming, we call upon these institutions. We call upon church leaders. What is it that they are doing to protect, to end this violence? It is together. So we are programming as an NGO, but we are saying we do not hold this power to change the communities. Institutions out there, government institutions, government has a structure that is protecting everyone in the country. But how come only 12% will report their cases? What is holding them back? You go back to the problem tree that we have done, that people don't report because of their cultural connotations that are around them, that tell them don't report, don't report. So meaning, even when you go to the police officer, he lives in this community. Tells you, why are you coming here to report your husband? Why are you coming here to report this child abuse? You go and settle, let them give you goats. You know, because they are coming from the same community. So the structures, our traditional norms affect even those structures of the government for which people who are working in them are from these communities. So we need to hold the gatekeepers, who are the traditional institutions, the cultural leaders, the religious leaders, that they will have to look into this problem and see what could be the solution together. Yes.
Well, as you were speaking, I remembered this morning I was discussing with someone, a host here, about a particular family that was violent, and then their child is bitter, that he comes out to speak out of bitterness. So someone was saying, but even when you look at the uncles and the other family members, they are all, they all do the same thing. So this child doesn't know anything called love in the family, because the father was beating the mother, the uncles beat the wives. And so we were asking, so which kind of child is this one going to be? And so the other one was, if that bitterness doesn't help him transform, then it will make him a very bad person, because this is what he has been exposed to. And it's really disheartening that this is what it is anyway in community, that these are rare cases that people never think about. I mean, we don't think about the other person watching us do this. So as a woman is being beaten, you think it ends with your anger, and then you don't think about the child who sees you, and then they say, I saw dad beating mom, or mom beating dad, and then they do the same when they grow up because they think it is normal.
Yeah.
Well, this is not. I don't think this is the Uganda we want to see, really. Yes. Yes. So, Mr. Mwangi, we continue, please.
Yes. Thank you very much. And I also want to add that the Uganda we want to see starts with me, starts with the individual household. It was interesting to find that intimate partner violence does not discriminate by level of education or economic status. So a woman who is a CEO, as well as the chapati girl, woman, are all at the same level. They both are vulnerable to abuse. But also, as you have said, most abusers for children are relatives. Very few are strangers. Most abusers are relatives, including biological fathers. So as we stand now in holiday, I'm sure some children feel safe at school than coming back at home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
During the COVID period, it was worse. Where there were family issues, you'd find that a father would end up having a relationship, abusing the girl many times because of the absence and separation of the mother. So it starts with me, it starts with the household, and in this holiday we should ensure that our children are safe. Where are you sending your children for holiday? Do you call to find out where they are? You send them for 3 weeks. Are they safe? You send them to a grandmother who is 90-year-old, and your siblings in the village who are not careful are the ones to handle your children. Do you think they are safe? So, building on now to the aspect of confidence, what do the stakeholders view? How do they view each other? We found that 18% of the stakeholders within the justice system, only 18% expressed confidence in the system. We are talking about asking a judge, asking a police officer, asking a probation officer, what do you think about the system? Do you trust one another? And only 18% said, we trust that the system can work in areas of rule of law, public support, and effectiveness in crime deterrence. In other words, even in the system themselves, there is lack of trust. And that is why in one of our interventions that we are relying on to ensure we have the shift is that we want to work within those government structures that are bringing actors together. For example, at the district level, there is what they call the district action centers, initiated by the Ministry of Gender and the helpline, the national helpline, where you'll find a probation officer has called CSOs, has called health workers, has called police, to discuss all cases about children in that area. We have the DCC, which is led by the judiciary. It brings different actors to talk about matters of access to justice. You'll find the judge is the chair, but there is a probation officer, there is police, prisons, someone from politics, someone from religion. So they talk about justice issues. We want to focus on those areas where people come together to discuss issues concerning protection and strengthen them, because the more they work collaboratively, the more they trust each other. What we are having is working in silos. A police officer gets a file, investigates. There is a probation officer in the next door, but does not know who that probation officer is. And then this child needs other needs beyond just the criminal case. It is the probation officer who will tell you, this child in this state cannot go back to the same father who abused her. She needs to go to a shelter. It's the probation officer who knows that. The probation officer who will ask court and get an order for protection, even for women. So we want actors to know that you actually have mandated people within your closeliness, within your realm. Work together. So we want the DAC to work at the national level. There is the Child Wellbeing Child Protection Committee by the Ministry of Gender and many others. We want to strengthen those structures where more than one actor come together and put their heads together. Otherwise, we are having so much of a blame game. Police will tell you, well, I investigate my cases, but court is compromised. The people will say, no, police does a bad job. That will not help us. We need all actors to work together, trust each other, but we also need the community to trust the system. So, can we have more accountability mechanism? Can we have a police baraza where the police community liaison officer can come to the community and say, in our community we are having many cases of young men below the age of 30 in our cells on defilement and on drug abuse. What can we do? If you do this, it is a crime. So that kind of awareness to the community to know about their rights and also to cause the actors to be accountable. And we have more mobile courts, where we have distance gaps. You find that that's another big challenge. Someone wants to report, yes, but it takes maybe 7,000 shillings to the nearest police station, and then maybe 15,000 shillings in the next court. And you will go and have an adjournment and have your first time to testify after 1 year. Who will trust that system? So you want the system to work, but also the community to demand that it works. And then the community is made aware that actually in your area there are referral pathways. You have a community development officer. You have a police post where you can start. You have the DPP's office to complain in case your case is not being investigated. You need to be made aware of this so that there is confidence in the justice system.
Well, you talked about the police getting closer to the people. Of late, police is pushing community policing. Lillian, should we believe that this is a way of intervening and getting closer to the people so that they can build confidence, so that people can build the trust in the system?
Yeah, I do believe so. I do believe the police's strategy for community policing is a good strategy because, like I said, it is very important to hold each other accountable. Instead of hearing noise at the neighbors and you shut the doors of your house, you even close the gate and
that's none of my business.
Even open for the dogs. It's none of your business. No, that is a good strategy, like where they are saying, if you hear the neighbor crying, please check on the neighbor. Let's account for each other. This also applies, that it will not only apply to other crimes, but it will also apply to domestic violence. If we change our attitude towards domestic violence from what we have discussed before. So this community policing will make us look out for each other, but also open ways of us getting back to police. He mentioned something to do with police barazas. Other than us asking ourselves, the police, I can't actually go there. When the liaison officer comes to the community and tells them, there are some things we take for granted, like what are the steps for which I take when I go to police to report a case. When the officer comes to the community and tells you the entire process, you're like, oh, so actually this is what I'm supposed to do. So in part of our programming, we have seen many cases go to police, leave alone what we captured in the report here, but part of our program data shows that there are those who go to report, and after you've reported, at the start of the reporting, you get an SD number. It's like a station diary number. That number will expire within, I think, 48 hours. That case has not become a case because you have not followed it up. So if I have a community liaison officer from police come to community, that when you report, after you have got the station diary number, the SD number, next you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things for that case to transform into a case and get a CRB number, which is the criminal. It is registered in the crime register book, and it's now a case that is being pursued. Many of the people do not know. Even here in Kampala, even everywhere, they do not know the difference between I've just gone to police and reported and gone away.
They've given me a number, and that is all.
No, that is all. That's where we end. But within 24 hours, that number is expired, and there's no longer a case against the person you reported.
And then you go back and say the police doesn't work.
Doesn't work. But because you don't know the process, that bridging of the gap is what we want to bridge. For what is the process? Let the community liaison officer come to the community, or the police officer in charge of bridging the gap with the communities, and educate the community about the processes of reporting. That once a case is reported, whichever case you have reported, this is the process. After you report, you're supposed to do 1, 2. After that 1, 2, you're supposed to come and do A, B, C, D. After that, there's this. Like me and you here, we get to understand, oh, this is the process. If I don't do this within 24 hours, I don't have a case. If I don't do this after they have arrested the person, and I don't do this within this, the law provides for even the other person. They are innocent until proved guilty. So after that time, the person will be released, and the woman will be like, that man went there for 1 day. And the following day he was
released. He braved the police.
And actually it will be like he braved the police. But when the officer is acting within the law says after these hours and this person has not showed up, then you release the suspect. Like, we need to bridge that gap. Same applies to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. How many of us know that we have a right to representation? How many of us know that we are entitled to a lawyer or to the prosecutor in case you get, in case you have a case that is a criminal case, that you can be represented by government? You're actually supposed to be represented by government. How many of us know? You don't. We need to just bridge that gap in our implementation, that you know what to do with police. I know what I'm entitled to in the DPP's office. I know what I'm entitled to when my court reaches this level, my case. So when you get to know the system, then you pursue the justice journey. But when I don't know, I reported, that's it. It ends there.
I'll sit and wait.
I'll sit and wait for the case to move on its own, and it will never move.
Well, at this point, we are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are continuing with this report. It's quite interesting, but also it has a lot of tenets for us to learn from as Ugandans, because this is the Uganda we want. We are coming back shortly. Stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Uganda We Want. We are discussing a report by the International Justice Mission Uganda that was released a few days ago, and wow, it has quite a lot of things that are open for us to learn from, especially when it gets to violence against women, but also sexual abuse, and these are at the heart of everyone. I mean, and what is hard is actually what they found out, and this is what we also find out in communities, that victims are silently crying. They never come out in public to share. Why? Because they know you'll laugh at them, you'll demean them, you'll stigmatize them, and I mean, this is really bad, especially for the Uganda we want and the Uganda we want to build together. But before the break, we're actually looking at the confidence of stakeholders in the criminal justice system, and of course, we saw how we can be supported to build. But it's also alarming, especially if the systems, the people in the systems don't trust the systems they're in. For example, you go to a police, for example, a woman who is a victim of domestic violence goes to the police for the first time, she reports the case. The second time, they give her an ear. The third time, again, it's you. And that statement means a lot.
Yes,
when the police officer says, again, it's you, this person will never come back. Yes. They'll never trust the system anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
So these are some of the things that really happen out there in the community. But let us continue with the other findings still in the report, Mr. Mwangi.
In fact, thank you. Building from that, we found that only 6% have confidence in the full criminal justice system chain. In other words,
only 6%.
Only 6% believe that a case can go from reporting to police and to court. So you'll find that for many women who suffer domestic violence, they will report at that time when they are very angry and they are so willing to proceed. Then with some delays, the case will stop at police, or they will come to court once or twice, and that will be it. Because it's a long journey, they don't trust that it will end in giving them what they need. Plus all associated stigma that comes each time she goes to court. You mean you're the one who reported your husband? Your husband is in prison because of you. So managing all of that, and with the expectation of what is going to come from the justice system, you find that the confidence is low. We found that only 7% believe the criminal justice system agencies provide timely services. So time is of essence. If I go to court today, can I be assured that I will be out this year with my judgment? Or it is that I'm going to be there for 3 years?
Or even more.
That I'm going to go to court on the first day and I will not have a chance to testify until next year. So it takes only the resilient to pursue that process. But the Uganda we want is one whereby one can trust that in 8 months my case can be disposed of. In 6 months my case can be disposed of. When the judge is not going to come, I will get communication. So I did not travel miles to come, only to be told by the clerk after waiting for 3 hours that, oh, the judge has gone for a workshop. So that systems will work of communication, of collaboration, of information. We are now going digital. So wanting to reach the community level whereby someone can just use their phone and check on accuracy of the judiciary. Is my case going to be heard today or not? In some now in the High Court you can see that a judgment can be given online. You don't need to come. So we must build the confidence of the people in that regard.
Yeah, maybe just to add on the issue of timeliness. 7% believe the criminal justice agencies work in a timely manner is, like he said, time is of essence. Imagine a child sexual abuse case of a child 14 years and it takes another 4 years in the system. By the time the case is being heard, this child is no longer a child. He's an adult. And the case has, there are other things with those sexual abuse offenses. As more time passes, the evidence will disappear, what they call disappearing evidence, because it is a sexual abuse. So at the time of the act, there's supposed to be evidence within a shortest period of time to be collected that will pin the abuser. But as more time passes, this evidence will no longer be there. So timeliness is of essence, and especially in these sexual abuse offenses, that for the child should have this served in time. Even for domestic violence, by the time you take a year plus, I have moved on. I have felt that maybe this is okay, this is what they want me to be in. I have normalized myself to the abuse. Yeah, it has to be real timely, and that they see that justice coming to rescue them from the abuse.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mwangi.
Yes, and we found that in the 410 case files that were reviewed, we found that almost a half or 8% of these investigations were closed or were inactive. So meaning that reporting is one thing, many cases come to the system, and then a good number may not proceed from the police level. Maybe evidence is lacking, maybe there is some additional support which police needs that they cannot get. For example, you're having the challenge of medical examination. There is a policy of government that any child who has suffered sexual violence should be examined for free. But because we have fewer health officers, and many times they're also dealing with other issues, they will charge 20,000, 30,000, and many people cannot afford that. And with that lack of medical examination, the police is limited. Or, as Lilian has said, the follow-up. So you find that with limited follow-up, there is no adequate evidence on the police file to take the DPP who will sanction the file to proceed to court. So that needs to be addressed. Though we realize that for those which have moved to the level of investigations which are complete, most of them lead to arrest. But one of the gaps that we saw that needs to be addressed in the engagement in the system is trauma-informed response. How do the actors engage with the survivors? When I come to report to you, I've been abused, your first question, what did you do this time? What did you do that must have caused your husband to do this? The survivor will view you as a person who is on the defense of the perpetrator. Well, you might be trying to reason it logical and saying, but if a man did this, it must have taken provocation. But that's not what you need for someone who has reported. The ideal way is first listen to their story, take down whatever they say, then analyze it and see whether it builds up a case. You'll have a time also to get the statement of the perpetrator to understand his side of the case. The police has a family and child protection unit. Sometimes when they listen, they realize that maybe it's a border issue which is not needing further prosecution, and they can mediate it. But once there is violence, the woman was beaten, there is medical evidence, then now proceeds to investigation. So we need to close that gap by having actors who are trauma-informed. If I come and I'm a girl and I've been abused with her, and I find 10 other girls who are sexually abused, I'm not comfortable telling my story in the presence of other people. So you find that the person interviewing is a man, and then he's saying, who are you? You're the one who was abused yesterday in Chinawataka. You are the one who was abused in... So that affects even what I'm going to say.
Or maybe when you're still saying, they tell you, you're crying, but the other one
was even worse. For you, abused by a stranger, this one was abused by his very father. So we want the right language, the timing. If a girl has been abused now, she needs to receive counseling and adequate medical attention first, not to write a statement. Because most times she will not tell you the right thing. Because she's thinking through a lot. I've been abused by my uncle who has been paying my fees ever since my father died. Am I going to report him? What are the implications of my life? There are so many thoughts of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old.
Should I be the reason my auntie's marriage is
going to fail? So there we say, police, you know that there is a probation officer. Can they find a shelter? Let this girl go for counseling, say for 1 month. After 1 month, find out in what emotional state are they to tell their story. Judges, we have realized some judges who have been exemplary. When they are hearing cases of children, they will say, let us go into the chambers, in the office, not in the open. They will put off the wig, put off all that armory of the judges, and come to the level where the child is not afraid, and the child can tell their story. But if it is open court, you're wearing your red gown and a wig, a child who is their first time to come to court to tell their story in presence of 100 people cannot tell. So trauma engagement is something we are focusing on by the judicial officers, by the police when they're asking these cases, by the prosecutor. Remember, when you go to the prosecutor, you have already had like 5 policemen ask you about what happened. The more a person tells their story, the more they are traumatized. So you want to limit the questions and even how you approach the person. So those are the things we are talking about.
Yeah, maybe just to pick it up from him, he also talked about just before the number of the trauma-informed, he talked about the 48% of the SVAC and intimate partner violence cases investigations were closed or inactive. Remember this percentage, we have heard from, let me just connect the dots of the study. The prevalence was very high for intimate partner violence and for child sexual abuse. For both, 6 in 10 have been abused, sexually abused. But we also saw that at the next step, which is the reporting, only 1 in 10 reported to police. That is the 12% went to the justice system. Yet the percentage is actually very high of those that experienced violence. Then you have only 16% going to the other structures, the traditional structures, the LCs and the others. And that means we already see that out of the high prevalence of this abuse, we have a reporting gap of 7 out of 10 cases, they will be not reported. So the 48%, all the cases that are being worked on by police are only the 12% that actually go to them. The 12%, which is a smaller percentage. Now we are saying even from the 12%, 48%, they are closed or inactive. Meaning only 52%, they are pursued, they proceed through the system to sanctioning and to the legal procedures. So that widens actually the reporting gap or the pursuing of the case gap, because we have people falling off at each stage. What does this tell us? We need to bridge the gaps in between, even that the cases that arrive at reporting stay in the system and they are pursued. Because if we see that even more that arrive, they don't actually proceed to the next level. So what is the problem? Is it, where should we come in? Where should we bridge the gap? Is it at the stations? Is it at, that is why it was important for us to mention that the community interfaces with the institutions of government is very important to bridge the gaps into reporting and pursuing cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what is important here for the Uganda we want is what next after this report. Now we know this is what it is. This is what is out there in the community. Maybe someone would want to know the sampling method that was used. Which areas did you take as a case study? Did you still take Mukono, or you looked out for other areas as well, Mr. Mwanje?
I want to revert that.
Okay, Lydian.
Yeah, thank you very much. And in terms of the research, like we have already mentioned, it was an independent research by International Research Consortium, which International Justice Mission sourced out to do an independent survey. So we did standard sampling according to, we used the UBOS standardized sampling frame for the areas that we wanted to select for the study. So we had in the Western region for our area of, maybe let me first go to the areas of operation.
Yes.
We are operating in Western Uganda in 9 districts of Rwenzori. We are operating in Northern Uganda in 8 districts of Acholi. We are operating in Karamoja in 5 districts of Southern Karamoja. We are operating in Eastern region, still 5 districts in the east, and 2 districts in Central, which is Kampala, Wakiso. So given that of what we were, where we are, our sampling frame was more to what is the location you are in and how will we know that we have, after 5 years, how will we know that we have caused any change? So we adopted what we call a quasi-experimental design. So in a quasi-experimental design, we do have the intervention areas, that is the places where we are implementing, and we also got data from what we call comparison places, comparison districts, where we are not, but we know government structures are the same. With these, we selected them based on similarities with the districts where they are. So the study was conducted in those 5 regions, in 14 districts, and the sampling frame, at the end of it all, we gathered data from 2,226 women and 1,225 children, which is a representative sample, even with the other studies that have been conducted by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Okay. Yeah.
Well, now, this is how things are for now,
yeah.
and this is a reflection of what happens. What it is out there in society. So while someone is in a violent-free home, it doesn't mean that there is no violence the next door, or there is no violence in the next village. But the big question is, what should we do, Mr. Mwanje? What should we do to see that we achieve the goal of 2030?
Thank you very much. So it is undeniable that sexual abuse of children is high, so is domestic violence, special occasion on women. And therefore we have to pull all our energies together to ensure that we collaborate to end the violence at all levels. So for example, we would want to have the justice actors, police, DPP, judiciary, to give timely and trauma-informed response. Timely in the sense of quick disposition. In the High Court, for example, for a criminal case that will end up with a maximum sentence of death described by the High Court. So if it is aggravated defilement, it will end up in the High Court. If it is defilement, which is a child who is above 14 years, that will go to the magistrate, Chief Magistrate's Court. So for Chief Magistrate's Court cases, once it is reported, investigations are done, hearing starts immediately. But for High Court, say for now when there is a pilot to try daily hearings, cases are not heard on a daily basis. They are heard in what is called a session, meaning you will wait for your case to be piled with a number of cases, and there is money for a judge and his staff to manage those cases in a period of 1 month. What that means is that if I'm accused when I'm 16 years today, I might testify when I am 20. I could have started a new relationship. I may have never disclosed my past. And coming on that day for the prosecutor to say, tell this court what happened on the 7th day of January 2020 is quite traumatizing. So can we have mechanisms that quite kind of reduce the time, have more timely, if I report my case to police, can we have quicker investigations in less than 80 days? Can we pick up relevant witnesses who can do the statements? DPP quickly sanctioned, because our law in Uganda says when someone is arrested, they have to be produced in court within 48 hours. So can we collaborate so that when police takes this person, DPP will have the necessary the good file which has the reliable information to quickly sanction, and there is no much delay. Trauma engagement is very important because this discourages people. If one person goes and faces a hard time in court, they will discourage others. Even if I'm just accompanying my neighbor whose husband beat her up, and we take 3 years before concluding the case, when it happens to me, I will not choose that option. So we need timeliness, we need trauma-informed response. We need the church also to play a big role in this. We know that the church emphasizes salvation. Yeah. But justice also is at the heart of God. Justice is at the center of God's heart. Therefore, we need the church to speak about injustice. We want the church to be a source of restoration. We want religious leaders and the church not to keep a rhetoric of, if a woman who is not married comes and reports abuse, the first question is, were you married? You were living in sin. Good for you, punishment for your sin. Or if you are married, I'll say, what is your marriage certificate? You swore in good or
for
bad, for better, for worse. We want the church to be able to, first of all, listen, understand the situation, appreciate issues that need counseling, and issues where you need to tell the person, I think this case needs to go to the police for management. Otherwise, you are looking at keeping a family which is already broken. You may not have that parishioner again. The next time you might be leading a burial ceremony, which you don't want. So there are cases which are very clear there is violence. Channel those people to report the justice system. Cultural leaders, traditional leaders, speak against crimes which are abusive to women and children. And we want to thank God for some successes. Tochi, which is the abbreviation for the kingdom of their dollar. Tachi. We were able to work with them to come up with gender guidelines in which the cultural leaders and other actors arrived and said, we do this in our tradition, it is wrong. This is acceptable, this is not acceptable. It was launched and passed in the presence of their king. We did the same in Usunga, Rwenzururu, and we had the king of Rwenzururu clearly speaking to men, and I want to speak to men as well, that men too are abused through domestic violence, but the statistics show that women are abused more and are most vulnerable with no options. In fact, many abusive women keep the same abusive relationship because they are dependent on the man. So men, we need to know that we are meant to be protectors, and this is a good space as a church. We are protectors. We are supposed to love our wives. We are supposed to protect our children, not to abuse them. Children should be safe coming to be hugged by their fathers, not seeing their fathers as abusers. So can the church be a place of support? This country lacks shelters. Government has no shelters. So the few shelters that we have are by NGOs, and a number of them have been affected by funding. Can the government work with the districts to create some spaces for shelter? Can the church offer some land? We want to thank the church in Gulu, the Diocese of Northern Uganda, supported the police, offered their land for the police, I think Gulu Western Division, to have space, to have a police station. So church have land. We can enter into MOUs with civil society and the churches, provide space where a structure can be placed for children who have been abused to temporarily be there, or women who have been abused. Or offer foster families, mothers union, Christian Women Fellowship. Apart from the things we do for the church, do we care about whether this woman is safe at home? Do we talk about this in our meetings? Do we talk about this on Mary's Day, on St. Peter's Day, on St. Mary's Day? These are the things which are really happening. This is why people do not come to church, because yes, they don't want to keep pretending. They have pretended enough. So they want to have solutions. So the church has a place to play. Men, let us look through ourselves and be protectors. I also want to say that it begins with the individual. So in IGM Uganda, one of our interventions is survivor leadership. We realize that one way, the best way to appeal to the problem is by those who have suffered it. So we have supported women to come up with what we call the Uganda Survivor Network, which are groups of women that meet who have suffered intimate partner violence, have walked out of relationships, or have made decisions to live in a safer life, and they speak about the violence. They speak to the actors to tell them, this is what it meant to me. This is what I underwent. I wouldn't want other women to face the same. So the survivor voice needs to stand out, and they have a campaign called Speak, which essentially is meaning don't be silent. So I want to encourage people who are undergoing abuse, whether you're a woman or a child. Sauti 116 is a toll-free line. It is a government toll-free line. When you call it, you will receive help to the next chain of support. So call that number, even if you're a child who is abused by your uncle, or you know a friend who has been abused, a friend tells you at break, I don't want to go back home because daddy does this to me. Go to call that number 116. You will receive help. Speak and don't be silent.
Well, we are taking another short commercial break. When we return, we shall come back with the last part of this show. Kindly stick with us.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from that break. Of course, this is our last part of today's show, the Uganda We Want. Now, of course, we are looking at the International Justice Mission's Violence Against Women and Children Baseline Report 2025. And of course, we have talked about just a little that is contained in this report. In fact, we're just looking at a summary of this report, but I believe there is a detailed report. And of course, Lydian, if someone wanted to get into the real detail of this report, is it out there for the public, and how can they access it if it is?
Yeah, this report is available on our IJM website, which is www.ijm.org. And then you would look at reports. So it will be available on our website for anyone that would like to access it. Okay. And also you can follow us on our social media handles. For X is at IJM_Uganda. And for Instagram is at IJM Uganda. So follow us and you will have more of what has transpired and what we are doing with women and children.
Okay. Okay. Besides the surveys and the report, someone would maybe be there and they're victims, and they're asking whether you have a walk-in for such people, you have a space to listen to them, and I mean, do you offer any other services to maybe the victims of domestic violence or sexual abuse?
Okay.
Yes. We, as I mentioned, our first role in the mission is justice system strengthening. So we realize that there is a broader part of the population to protect, though it starts with one individual person. So we want to have a solution that will affect many more than just one individual. So what we encourage now most is not reporting to IJM as an individual, but reporting to police. Call that number 116 or go to the nearest police post next to you and report. When you report, when police comes to us, we know how to engage police, how to connect them to the different pathways. So indeed, we will not, when you call, we shall not fail to receive your number. We shall point you to the relevant support that you need when you call. But our encouragement is we want the system to work, and there are mechanisms for the system to work. So call that number 116 in case you do not know where to start, but go to the nearest police post and report. When the police post does not support you, go to the police station. And if the police station does not help you, you have a region. So in other words, there are many steps that you can take to receive the support. But we do support some cases to ensure that they go through the justice system, where we want these cases to act like a deterrence, bring out a good precedent. Like there is a case which we successfully supported that ended up in a life imprisonment in 2021 of 6 boys that were sexually abused by their head teacher in a school within Wakiso. The head teacher was also acting as the warden, would stay in the dormitory and would pick one boy at a time to abuse over and over time. But we were able to support that school, and that gentleman is now serving his life sentence. I received a message from one of those boys yesterday telling me because of the support that he received during that time, he was inspired to do law, and on Monday next week he's starting his journey of law at KIU Law School. So we do support in terms of supporting the police, supporting prosecutors to ensure that cases are actually acted upon and lead to conclusion. We do not want cases that remain stuck. So we want to ensure that cases are supported through the justice system and people can trust that actually can report a case and bring to conclusion. The other thing that we do is strengthening the coordinated case response mechanism. That is our coinage, but what we say is that we strengthen those structures that bring together different actors. So it can be the District Action Center, it can be the Child Wellbeing Committee, it can be the DCC. We strengthen those, we support their functionality. In districts where they don't exist, we work with the ministry to ensure they exist and established. Where they are having challenges of being established but not functional, we engage and try to see how to pool resources to ensure that the DAC is meeting regularly, the DCC is meeting. We also work with survivor leaders, as we have told you. We empower them on how to tell their story. And at the baseline, we had a survivor tell her story of what occurred to her. NBS was there, and NTV and other medias, they could have gotten this, should be somewhere in the media. So there was a survivor leader who was abused, who 2 years ago would not tell anyone about their story, but now they are brave to tell their story because they want other women to also stand strong. So survivor leadership, empowering those who have been abused to speak up. We have work with cultural institutions, as I've mentioned, because culture is very key. You actually mentioned very well, Edwis, that in many places, someone will be defeated by culture. How can a woman report her husband? How can a child report her father? How do I speak matters of the bedroom? How do I bring them outside in the public space? So we work with cultural institutions to address harmful cultural practices, to debase them, to know that they are unconstitutional, and agree on those which are agreeable practices. We have to maintain our culture, but not promote violence. And then we also work with the church, with church leaders, encouraging church leaders to speak out. And in fact, in the month of September, we shall be running a campaign that is called the Freedom Sunday. Freedom Sunday, we pick this from our advancement offices in the US and elsewhere, those which fundraise for our work. They go out and on those Sundays speak about violence, how it is experienced, and call for people to support it by raising money. In Uganda, our concern is to, when we come for Freedom Sundays, to speak out about the injustice. We shall speak out strongly from the results of this report and show you how serious the problem is, but call for everyone's action and prayer. Not money, but support through taking action, speaking up, reporting. We want reporting to rise. We want patriotism and report. And through that, we believe that, again, the church can play a big role. Speaking against injustice, we have justice sermons for pastors, which they can use on the pulpit and encourage people to speak up and discourage injustice. Justice and righteousness are at the center of God's throne. What have I left out as an intervention, Lydia?
Maybe what we also do is data informed. We want to run like data informed budget financing. We have these government entities. We are saying the government provides this law for all of us, provides for a law on domestic violence, provides for this on child sexual abuse. But these structures are not maybe functioning to their full capacity because of issues of financing or budget financing. So we are bringing out, like we have discussed, if this violence is not addressed, this person that is being abused today, who is your voter, tomorrow will not be there to vote you. Is that the Uganda you want? Tomorrow you don't have a voter. You want to protect your voter to vote you tomorrow. So you want the institutions also to function as they should do to protect, to deliver their mandate. So we have seen very many women are experiencing violence, very many children are experiencing violence, and now that we are campaigning with the rest of the institutions to enable them to report, that means more cases are going to come into the system. So using these reports, we are saying we need to now advocate for budget financing for entities that are handling these cases. If it is police, judiciary, Ministry of Gender, all the entities that are within the chain of justice system. So they will need to be facilitated. For example, if I go and report and I am from deep, I don't know which village I can mention, and that village does not have a prosecutor, it means my case will not go on because I do not have a prosecutor, and it is a criminal case where I need representation by government. So my delay will be that I will need to wait, because there are districts that don't have a prosecutor. Even in our areas of operation, there are districts where there is no prosecutor. Is it Nakapiripirit, even Amudat, then in Western, I think, they share one like per district. There's one that is shared. I think Bundibuja and Njoroko share one prosecutor. Yes. Meaning if there are 6 cases of child sexual abuse, that prosecutor has 6 cases in maybe one district and also has 6 cases in the next district. Because we have seen it is very high. It is 6 out of every 10. It means they will not have the capacity. They are well qualified, they can do what they are supposed to do, but they are torn apart. The cases are so many, they cannot represent them at once. So we are saying, data is saying this is highly prevalent. For us to pursue this and have it successful, we need the government entities that are playing part in this to have certain funds set aside for handling cases in the system. So one of that is to advocate that this budget is in place to support institutions, these justice institutions, to deal with cases of violence against women and children. We are saying, he said for High Court it's a session. If I'm waiting for a session for a child sexual abuse case, by the time the session arrives, there are also other cases in the system that have been waiting for this session. It means that case will not be fast-tracked. Can we have a budget that is set aside to fast-track cases of sexual abuse so that the evidence does not disappear before it is brought to court? Like I talked of, he knows the legal language. They call it disappearing evidence. That evidence will soon disappear and the case will be lost. So using this report, we are advocating for financing for different institutions, having budgets that fast-track cases from the probation, from the police, to prosecution. Prosecution, I've already told you of the issues that we find in the system. You have a case, but you don't have a prosecutor. Why? Prosecutors are few. They are not there in the districts. I don't know whether the assumption is that cases are not there or not, but they are there. Evidence is here. This is what we call data informed. There is evidence, there is data that cases are there, so these prosecutors should be available to take on these cases. And also for court sessions, we believe these court sessions need to be as frequent as possible, and there should be a budget for frequent sessions to handle these cases of violence against women and children.
Okay.
Yeah, to bridge that gap.
Thank you so much. Do you want to add on what she's just said?
I just want to build on to say what else needs to be done to address the law reporting is the awareness. Okay. Many people are not aware, as Lillian said. So people need to be aware of referral pathways. What do I do when I have abuse? Where do I start? And what available sources do I have? There is a CDO, community development officer. What do they do? What's the role of probation officer? What's the role of communitalization? What's the role of police? People need to know where are shelters. Government needs to talk about their role, and we want to work with the DPP, who is our partner, to ensure that there is an awareness campaign to know what's the role of the DPP, because some don't know, they think things stop at police. So a lot of awareness needs to be done at the community level to know their rights, and we want to thank Family TV for an opportunity like this, for people to be enlightened. The more people are enlightened, the more they're empowered to report and fight for their rights. Okay.
Still about reporting. Besides police and building that confidence, and as the civil society, do you have interventions of building that trust in the people? To trust the systems, but also to build their confidence to speak out. Like he said, someone came and 2 years ago, they were not confident about sharing what happened to them, and this time round, they were confident in sharing what happened to them, and perhaps this acts as a message they send out to others who go through the same. Yeah.
So we do have different interventions. So for the survivors, there are interventions that are for demand creation, and those for supply for justice. What I just talked about for budget financing is the supply arm. On the demand side, these are the people that will demand for justice, like the women. So women are, when they come to pursue the justice journey, or children, they are the trauma. We have the trauma-informed approaches that we want every station, every justice actor acts in a manner that is trauma-informed. We do have different curriculums that have the trauma-informed approaches. For example, for police in handling of cases of violence against children and women, but we also have the DPP curriculum, which we call the multisectoral curriculum. It has a component of trauma-informed approaches for violence against women and children. So these curriculum, they help different actors to act in a way that they should handle the cases that are trauma-informed to allow the justice seeker to proceed with seeking justice. Then for survivors, we empower them. We have interventions that are empowering them to tell their stories. The power of story training, which is how we call it, is actually reveals how powerful a story can be when it is told. When I'm told of a story of someone, like all of us might know, or me and you, another person might know somebody that is suffering. But just because you've not seen someone come out, you'll not even say, so and so came out and they were helped. But someone coming out to share their story gets another person moving and to act like, oh, so I can actually be helped, or I can tell my story, it saves another person. So we have interventions that are towards survivors, empowerment to tell their story, empowerment to stand and live maybe on their own or support themselves, also to pursue the justice journey. So there are different interventions that will lead them into the system and also to survive even after the long process of the system has closed. How do I move on with my life? Will I still stay with the shame of the abuse if I'm a child or a woman, or I will actually thrive in the community even after that?
Okay.
Yeah.
That is quite interesting, and I think that is so powerful, especially for as a way of strengthening others and telling them you're not alone.
No, yeah.
But when we speak out, then we shall make a lot of noise about this vice, and probably it will. I mean, there will be no more dying in silence.
Yeah. And which is what we need. We need that noise. We need the survivors to come out, to ask for support. And when they make that noise, we will see the problem. We don't see the problem because everybody has been told, just keep quiet about this, just keep quiet. But it is eating people up. Before we know it, we have very many cases of homicide. We have very many cases of men being killed or men being abused. But whoever goes deep to know what is the actual problem. If we ended violence against women, shall we close off this gap of violence against men? There are things that we need to rethink through as we do the interventions, as we think about joining this table of discussing ending women and children, that it will actually solve certain problems. You might actually have less cases of homicide because you have stopped this violence against women. You might have less cases of men being abused just because this violence has stopped. So we need to think about it in the Uganda we want. What is it that we are targeting to see out there as the end result? Yeah.
Well, this reminds me of a story of an artist. She was a gospel artist in one of the African countries who was subjected to domestic violence, and each time she was beaten by the husband, she used to come to the pastor and tell the pastor what is happening, and the pastor would only tell her, it's okay, pray about it, God will work upon it, until when she died. And then when she died, that is when that entire revelation came out, after we had lost her. And this is how serious this can be. This is how serious this can be. That someone ministers on the pulpit in a lot of strength, and then we don't know the other side, but they have a lot of tears that come by. So this is really very, very important. But as we get closer to the end of this discussion, Mr. Mwanje, give us your closing remarks.
Thank you, Idris. The Uganda we want is a Uganda that is safe for everyone. A safe environment is one which is safe for the most vulnerable. If we have a justice system that can protect women and children who are vulnerable, then it can protect everyone. And therefore it takes collective responsibility. Speak up if you are the one who is being abused. Speak up if you know someone who is abused. accompany somebody who has been abused, who has reported. There is need for a lot of moral support. Accompany them to police report, accompany them to court. Let's have that unity and support for one another in the community. And let us speak against violence. If a woman reports a case, let her not become the problem. Shift the problem to where it is. Because the victim now becomes the villain when everyone is attacking the woman for reporting. When someone reports, rally around them and strive to ensure that the perpetrator is brought to justice. Let's have more collaboration against the justice actors. It's no longer profitable to work in silos. Let us work together, CSOs, donor community, to arrive at the best solutions to this. And I also want to end by telling that one of the ways we bring trust to the community is again by supporting the actors in some of the mechanisms they have, like police barazas, like mobile courts. We saw that work in Amudat, where many people in that community were not reporting and not trusting the system. We had the court come close to one of the sub-counties in Amudat, and as a result, people have now increased their trust and their reporting cases. The other one also is the court open days. Where there are court open days, please public go. You can ask any question to the judicial officers, from what does it mean to report my case to also saying the clerks in that court are corrupt, how do you help us? It is possible to end violence against women and children if each one of us plays our role.
Thank you so much. Lillian, your closing remarks?
Yeah, mine is more to each one of us, the listeners, the viewers, and the actors, to know that we actually have power to end violence against women and children, and to think clearly, think deeper into the costs of violence against women and children. What is it costing you as a local leader to have a household that has domestic violence every other time? What is it costing you, the politician, to have a community that has these households where there is violence? What is it costing you as a church leader to have flock that has violence, that comes bleeding every other day? What is it costing the cultural institutions of what they have, of what we have kept as our norm? Like, each one of us needs to think about the cost of violence. Actually, the cost of violence is a cost of a life, because you may actually know of someone that has died from violence, domestic violence. Could be a man or a woman or a child that has died due to domestic violence. That, let us think about the cost of violence and what it has robbed of our society, what it has robbed of your household, of your community, of the entire society, of the nation. Then think about the Uganda we want. We want a Uganda free of violence against women and children. And the cost is that ending violence against women and children leads us to a greater benefit beyond women and children. It is a benefit that is beyond just domestic issues. It is a benefit to the community, it is a benefit to the nation. It is unity, it is an empowered community, it is a prosperous community. Even when you look at economies that are growing, this domestic issues, when handled very well, will lead to development, because it is household income that will increase, and before you know it, you're like, our GDP is going up. We are going to this middle class status, which is the Uganda we want. But the Uganda we want needs to end violence today, not even 2030. We need to end domestic violence today. So I call upon every stakeholder to use the power within them, the power that they have. Could be the status of who you are, could be the status of your civil society organization, could be the status of the government institution where you sit and you are the decision maker, could be in parliament where you're seated, could be the office of the president, office of the first lady, could be the kingdom, the chiefdom, or any traditional leader, could be the bishops for the religious institutions, to use their power to advocate for ending violence against women and children. Not only advocate, but take action. We have said the action begins by the reporting and having the systems work, because the law provides for these things. But how many people are utilizing the law to end violence against women and children? Or even when that happens, at the gatekeeper's point where they have reported. How am I, the person receiving this case, handling this case? He has talked about the trauma-informed approaches, so we need to have ourselves with that approach of ending violence against women and children at whichever level you are at. I've called upon all the institutions and the individuals that we work together to end violence against women and children for the Uganda We Want, which is the middle, they developed the middle income status. So we want to be there, but we can only be there if we have a productive population. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Thank you so much, Byron, and of course to your viewer, thank you so much. You who started with us and you've come to the end of this show. The Uganda We Want is a violent-free Uganda. The Uganda We Want is a Uganda where everyone feels safe, where everyone is safe, not feels, but where everyone is safe. At home, that child is safe, that wife is safe, that husband is safe. So everyone is safe wherever they are, and even in the community. That is the Uganda we want. Thank you so much for watching us today. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name. I've worked with Esther, Essie, I've worked with Patience and Liz. From the entire team, we wish you a blessed afternoon. Next is lunchtime request. Eat on the beat.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV.